Okay. Excuse me. Monkey butt. Alright. Looks like we're about happening. It might be happening. I can't quite tell. What do you think's happening, monkey? What? Get little flowers down here. Come on, video. You can do it. Let's go. Or you'll be 30 seconds behind. Well, I'll just keep petting your dog ears because they're just so soft, little buddy. Yes, the softest little dog ears. All right, video, you can do it. You can. I know you can do it. There we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Here we are. It's Friday. Okay, wait, gotta get this up. There we go. It's Friday, and well, the options chain got completely obliterated. It's just amazing. It's just so coincidental. It's just so astoundingly serendipitous that GME closed 3 cents below triggering tens of thousands of options that had been in the money previously in the week. Well into the money previously this week. Bounced off $29.99 a couple of times. And then starting yesterday, they just drowned it in a toilet. And that's where we are. So, welcome to where we are. People are saying volume. I cannot deal with the volume any more than I already have, I don't think. That speaker's headphones, that doesn't do me any good. What if I go to control panel? Might as well look at all this because Crowdstrike's bringing down every other computer in the entire world, right? So, let's see here. Sound. Adjust system volume. I need to adjust microphone, right? Recording? Microphone, default device. Okay, microphone. Oh, because we're on the wrong microphone, I think. I want this guy. Properties. Levels. I'm just going to crank that sucker all the way up. Hopefully that does something. If not, then that's where we are. Click OK. Alright. Hopefully that did something. I have no idea if it did anything. Went from 79 to 100. Alright, that's what you get. Okay. Yeah, so Crowdstrike is a giant software that does stuff for people's connected PCs, the internet, and they do lots of cloud storage. They do mainframes. They do all sorts of things for big servers. And they did some sort of update that bricked like every corporate computer on Earth. Wow. Airlines are down. Entire brokerages and banks are down. Entire nations are down. Just phenomenal apocalyptic snafu. I was joking earlier that Crowdstrike sounds like something you'd name a malware or like a computer virus you use to target Iranian centrifuges. But yeah, they've had problems in the past. This is just the biggest of them, and I'm sure their stock is going to do just fine on Monday, just peachy. So we've had GME got hammered, Crowdstrike getting vaporized. It sounds like people are really trying to get Biden to drop out or resign. Who knows what's going to happen between now and the Democratic convention. We also have Trump did his acceptance speech last night, which it was the longest acceptance. I think it was the longest acceptance speech at a convention in history, and it was just all over the place. So I guess there's that. What else? That's all the big news. There's more than that. You guys will definitely remind me. And that's what the chat is for, right? So here we are. We are chatting it up. Oops, that's the wrong screen. Okay. So let's find out what's on. Oh yes, I don't have I can't do my intros on this one because I've never imported intros onto this computer. So, flutter, flutter, butterfly. It lands on a flower, and then I start talking again. Okay, Casey Chapman first. Woohoo! Way to go, Casey Chapman. Would not, unless you're MAGA, dump Tesla. Unless you're MAGA, dump Tesla and GME and move on. I mean, you can if you want. I still think that there is a short short squeeze play in here. I do find it funny that Donald Trump went in his speech yesterday and he talked a whole bunch of shit about electric cars and a whole bunch of shit about AI, and that is basically Elon Musk's entire portfolio, and he's giving Trump $45 million a month to just talk shit about his industries. I find that hilarious. John Castro. Well, what a poopy day for the market and our friend GME. Think this broad downturn is going to continue. Banks are toast. We know banks are toast. They are so heavily indebted, or hold, I guess, too much debt in commercial real estate. Commercial real estate, as we all know, is done. Commercial real estate is done for. It's we've got towers all over the country, all over the world, being foreclosed on. They're worth a fraction of the value that they were even just 5 years ago. People are not returning to the office. Companies, because no one's in the office, they aren't going to pay their leases anymore. So, when their lease is up, they're done. They're not looking for more space. Commercial construction probably ending. I do find it funny though that the city of Tulsa wants to build like the tallest building in America. I think it was Tulsa. They have this plan like, build like a 2,000 foot tall building, and who are you going to put in there to Tulsa? Is it going to just be like one giant WeWork space? No one's even in those even. So, where, what, how, who, everything's toast. I was seeing yesterday, people were posting apartments in San Francisco. These are places that sold in like 2015 for $1 to $2 million, are now up for under $600,000 for sale. I think that the real estate market in general is having a big problem because interest rates are high. So if you're going to take out a loan to buy a place, you can only pay a fraction of what the price was for the home, and the homes are starting to adjust, I think, to that reality. That a $600,000 home in 2021, mortgage payment wise, is the equivalent of like a $350,000 home today. So you're gonna have to adjust those prices, and that means people are going to be underwater on a lot of places. They're not going to want to sell. Big construction companies are having problems paying off their bonds. There's a glut of new homes on the market that aren't selling, which means construction is going to slow down, which means there's going to be a downturn in the construction industry, which usually when you got a downturn in construction, that starts to really rear its head in late fall, and that's when you usually have market collapses. But I don't think GME going down today was indicative of the market as a whole. I think it was indicative of shorts not wanting a gamma ramp or gamma squeeze. So, c'est la vie. Boris Raspy, Houston. This week has been effing crazy. Thoughts about GME stock wise, also thoughts on next week GME. I don't see a similar gamma ramp built for next week. So unless like a whale comes in and does something crazy, my guess is very flat. The Trust Me Bros who were saying that T35 was going to absolutely just start kicking ass on Wednesday, Thursday. Nothing happened. Wednesday, we're up a bit. Thursday, they just punched it in the balls and doubled over, and it has not come up since. So, yeah. Okay, Chapman, what are your thoughts on low-carb diets like keto and carnivore? You may have answered last show, but I fell asleep. I talked about it for like 5 minutes, man. Everyone's system is different. Everyone has has different metabolisms, different ways their bodies process nutrients. So I think it depends upon what your body type is. Uh, Probably the best middle of the road round to have is eat in moderation, don't eat too much of one thing, and get around and move. I think a lot of problems people have is that they only eat one thing for so long, or their diet's dominated by one thing, and their body chemistry isn't necessarily geared towards that. Plane flying overhead. You can definitely hear it on the microphone. Go away, plane. And so, if you're like super diabetic, you're bigger, you're not processing your fats and sugars very well, then yeah, going to something that's probably high in protein is going to result in losing weight, being leaner, etc. But at the same time, like if you eat too much protein, you're going to give yourself colon cancer. You're going to give yourself probably heart disease and other issues. So find a happy medium. And I do think getting around and moving is probably the most important part of all of it. Like, you can eat a lot of things that you normally wouldn't if you move and you force your body to burn it. So, yeah, that's, keto works. If carnivore diet works, cool. I had a girlfriend who swore by her like high fat diet, so she would do things like instead of using like milk in her coffee, she just put in like a cut of butter. She was rocking. It worked for her. So, find something that works for you, I guess. And Boris Raptor says, I forgot happy birthday. I know your real birthday. Shh. All right. Ryan H, shout out to Monkey Butt and Fat Cat and the Orange Cat. Monkey Butt's out here. Fat Cat's inside. Orange Cat's inside. Little Kitten's inside as well. Okay. Boris Raspy, Houston, Lou versus Wall Street always said there will be a Crowdstrike around the time GME's about to rip. Well, Crowdstrike seems to be one of those giant companies that don't know how to get out of their own way, and they're going to pay the ultimate price for it. They're going to be one of those. They're going to change their name, and 10 years from now, we'll be talking about some company not realizing that it was originally Crowdstrike. Crowdstrike's such a dumb name for a company too. It sounds like a computer virus. Just marketing, folks. Murph and Turf, happy birthday, Houston. Does chili have beans in it? That is one of the debates of all time. Personally, I've been to chili houses that make nothing but chili, and they have chili that specifically has beans in it, especially vegetarian chilies. So, I think it can. I'm not bent out of shape one way or the other if it doesn't. I know that they're like chili purists, like, no, it cannot. But, okay, cool. Doesn't matter to me none. Justin G, any thoughts on Houthi attacks on Tel Aviv? Apparently there's a car bombing. I don't know if it was Houthis or someone else. Houthis also messed up, and they blew up a Russian oil tanker the other day. And oops, it's sort of like, I guess that's friendly fire at that point. Yeah, it's the war is going to war more, and more people are going to get involved. And it's not going to be Iran directly. They're going to have all their proxies do it because they don't want to face the Israeli Air Force. The Israeli Air Force could turn Iran into what they've done to Gaza pretty easily and probably in a matter of hours. So yeah, if I were Iran, I wouldn't want to mess with them directly. I'd have all the little proxies do it. And I don't think it's solving any problems at this point. I think it's just adding to the fact that, Israel might give Saudi Arabia a nudge and go, yeah, hit them some more. And then the Houthis get wiped out more in Yemen. Strange bedfellows are being made for sure. Because Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, they all hate Iran. They're all friends with Israel now. And, UAE used to have a law that if you had an Israeli stamp in your passport, because you'd like pass through their customs, you were not allowed in their country. And now they're like best buddies ever because they both hate Iran. Just weird bedfellows all around. Oh, Stephanie L. Oh crap, I can't read this. One sec. For some minute it's cutting off there. Make it so I can read things. Come on. There we go. Okay. Stephanie L. Oh God, for Christ's sake. Scroll. You can do this. Urgh. All right. There we go. Can you speak about the latest court doc that came out? Seems like there's another extension until October. What do you think the character defect is that makes people actually believe number 45? Which court doc was it? There was one that basically said I read the one from Global Partners, the one suing Dream on Me over the credit bid. Basically, most of it's been dismissed, and they're asking for some sort of extension, and the judge is like, but you guys haven't done any discovery yet, and so you have until like September 6th or something to actually do some discovery, and then I will look at this. And then there was one from the Bratia case, which I think is in 2 weeks. They've got a hearing for the class determination. And was there others that I missed? Those might be the big ones. You may have to send me something so I can read it over if I'm missing something. What do you think the character defect is that makes people actually believe 45? I do think it's a coalition. Like my oldest brother, gone through a divorce. He's realizing he's approaching twilight years, and he was angry. He was like angry white man, and he saw Trump as a way to just destroy the entire system to punish everyone, and that's why he was like Trump. And I don't know if he has ever taken personal stock into the fact that, problems in his life were his own decisions. They weren't other people. He chose paths in his life that made his life harder, and like decisions normal people wouldn't make. And he was very angry about that. And I think he was trying to cast blame. I think there are people that hate the LGBTQ more than they love anything else on this earth, and they will do whatever they can to protect themselves from acknowledging the fact that inside they've got some conflict they got to resolve, and they will cling on to whatever they feel is like the manliest thing they could possibly do. I think there are people that are straight up racist, and that side of the spectrum speaks to them. I think there are people that are blinded with what they think Christianity is, and that Christianity, because I don't think they've ever read their Bible. You can talk to a lot of these born again folks that are super devout and far right, and they've never read their Bible. They'll harp about abortion. Oh, God, think about all those babies. Dude, God does not give a rip about your babies. He killed all the firstborn males in Egypt, right? In Amalek, he told all the Jews to cut the unborn from their mothers and dash them upon the ground. In Numbers, there's the bitter water, which is an abortion-inducing potion that you can give to women and have them cause a miscarriage. You've got stories where, children are making fun of a bald guy, so God sends a bear to kill all of them. God does not care about your babies. He doesn't. And if you go into, the more fundamental literature from the Old Testament and the Talmud, you find that the Jewish theologians have been arguing about this for thousands of years. And they basically concluded on, it's legal. So, if you're going to use the Bible as, to do your thinking for you, then actually read it, man, because obviously you haven't. And you have people also that are just straight up misogynists that that they are upset that women have autonomy over their bodies, that they've got free interstate travel, that there's things like no-fault divorce. I mean, until the 70s, women weren't allowed to have bank accounts without, they had to get their husband's permission. States still made marital rape and abuse legal. It took federal laws to cure that stuff, and this is all in the last like 60 years. So there's quite a few people who have big issues with women, minorities, immigrants, and like, I guess if we were to look at this holistically, there's a big part of the platform and the beliefs of people like Elon Musk and J.D. Vance and others where they're really upset that the birth rate is down, and that in particular white people aren't making more babies, right? They want lots of white babies. They can't stand that there's like babies that aren't white coming out, and which is kind of ironic because J.D. Vance is married to a brown woman, but like, people aren't having babies because it's too expensive to have babies. It just is. You get burdened with student loans, you get burdened with expensive housing, costs are through the roof, and younger generations are the ones who are missing out more than everyone else at this point. They have a smaller and smaller slice of the gross domestic product than anyone else, and they're the ones expected to have all these babies. And so we're not having babies, and that vacuum is being filled by immigrants, because we have to at least maintain the population we have or grow it year over year, because that's what capitalism requires to have a successfully growing economy. If you're shrinking your population, you're shrinking your economy, and that's not good for anyone. So they want white people to have more babies, but they don't want to make college free. They don't want to make housing more affordable. They don't want to make healthcare more affordable. They don't want to do any of the things that allow us to be a successful nation that can foster young families forming and being big and bold and everything else. Instead, they want to make things harder on everyone, and they want to take away those opportunities. What they want is they want you impoverished. Because poor people make babies like crazy, because they don't know better, they can't afford birth control. They want to get rid of no-fault divorce so that women can't leave their husbands, and they want so that the husbands have to give permission for the stuff to happen. And can you imagine what this nation would be like if we went back to a society where abusive partners could just wail on their wife and kids forever and not face any repercussions for it, and the wife could never leave? And she can't, not only can she not leave, she doesn't have access to a bank account. Project 2025 wants to limit interstate travel on women, basically assuming that all women are traveling in order to get an abortion. That's kind of what 2025 is leaning towards. And they want period trackers for every woman to make sure that they're having their period and they aren't going across state lines to go have an abortion. Who gives a shit, man? Like, so what? Well, how's that any skin off your back? Oh, that's right. You want more like child slave labor for your factory farm in Iowa. It's just, we're going backwards. We're going really far backwards. And I see the reasons people have, and I don't agree with any of them. I don't think Trump's going to be your friend. I think he's going to make Ken Griffin and Jamie Dimon the heads of the SEC and of the Treasury, and that's where we're going to be. So, c'est la vie. Attaining oneness. Any math majors in the chart that need dunking on, on the chat and dunking on? I'm sure I'll scroll there eventually. Okay. I think my neighbor's kid must be walking for the first time. I have some happiness over there. Rod, every time people hype up dates, it just gives shorts an opportunity to smash hopes and dreams. Big runs seem to come when nobody's looking. Yeah, someone was like, let's all talk about days that GameStop's going to crash and see what happens there. They're mentioning that on Reddit. I think it's funny. Hey, Ross was saying, like, what if everyone just bought a bunch of $45 puts and forced the price to go up? What would happen then? I mean, I don't think anyone can afford $45 puts because that's thousands and thousands of dollars for one put. But, you know, there are whales out there, right? Right, monkey? You digging a hole with your nose? Is that what you're doing over there? Monkey, don't dig a hole. I have to mow over that. There's a hole over here that the husky you lived with dug when she was here, and I filled that thing in like 9 times, and a hole just keeps appearing. I don't know. Every time I mow over it, the one wheel goes in and here's crunk as the mower digs into the ground. So, all right, back to the main part of the chat. Wormfall. Houston, do you think short hedge funds are making a profit considering their full portfolio? They must be making money on thousands of tickers outside of securities yet purchased on their balance sheets. From the reports that came out at the end of 2021, the end of 2022, the end of 2023, not many of them are making money. Very few of them, something like 5%, beat the SPY. Monkey butt. Stop digging a hole. Come here. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Come here. Come on. Come here. There you go. Yeah, very few of them beat the SPY. Like, most of these billionaires, if they just put their money into an index fund, would be crushing these hedge funds. Which, I guess, like, maybe I should get my certified financial planner license or something and open up a hedge fund, and all I do is just put money into index funds, and then everyone gets like 8% a year, and I just take my little piece off of that. Like, oh, we're doing amazing things here. Just absolutely killer things. All I did was invest in dividend stocks and indexes and just went and played golf. But a lot of these hedge funds, they're doing lots of wheeling and dealing, and they're not doing any better than a lot of retail traders in that respect. I think the interest rates on their liabilities have gone through the roof, so they're paying tons of fees on that. I think their holdings, which probably are mostly bonds at this point. You know, we've been experiencing the worst bond market since like the 1780s, and they're just over leveraged. If you have to borrow 30-1 to make a play, and that play doesn't work out, like, you're not going to be able to pay it back. These aren't. All it takes is one shitty play when you do a 30-1 leverage, and then you're done. You're done forever. So, and they're hemorrhaging clients. A lot of their clients are just leaving because they're realizing they can make more money investing in index funds than having slick hedge funds manage their money. So then these hedge funds put in, you know, withdrawal limits. Like, oh, you can only withdraw up to 6% per quarter or whatever. And even then, they're getting closed out really quick. So at that point, it probably becomes a last one to withdraw as the last one doesn't get anything. And yeah. Diaz Perk, finger the like button. Kelly Reed, also had birthday. Ludicrous Speed, thoughts on JTB posting again? Do you think he signed some sort of short-term NDA or found a loophole? Someone asked him if he had a 50-day NDA, and I didn't see an answer to that. But it's interesting that he wasn't posting, and all of a sudden he's posting up a storm again. There very well could have been one, or they could have just released him from it or something. I don't know. We'll find out. Colin's here. I wish everyone a great weekend. Jason Blackwell, Houston. Why did Left Eye from TLC always have a sink full of dishes? No scrubs. The sky is spectacularly blue today. I realize that it is very blue out here. Look at that Rayleigh scattering off of nitrogen atoms just bombarding us right now. Bros Day Productions, what is JD Vance's connection to Curtis Yarvin? Curtis Yarvin, isn't he the guy who is a benefactor of Thiel? He's the one who wants to destroy the U.S. economy, and his goal is to vaporize the US dollar and make it so that we become a nation full of cheap workers, so that we're all like in factories 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, having no fun, pumping out widgets. And inside that is also this sort of return to traditional family and eliminating no-fault divorce, and they want a single income family where the wife works at home and she only takes care of the kids and isn't allowed outside the house, and it's really regressive. And he's got Peter Thiel's ear, because Peter Thiel is a misogynist. He won't have a traditional family because he's gay, although his gay lovers seem to die quite frequently. And he's got a bunker in New Zealand, so he's cool. But yeah, that guy is freaky. He's a freaky deaky. And he's got J.D. Vance's ear, because J.D. Vance is a sycophant of Peter Thiel, because that's who he worked for out of college when he went into the VC space. And yeah, so it seems to be a battle between these billionaires as to whose sort of apocalyptic vision of the future can be realized best. And that's kind of what we're sitting on, is like, we have a government that caters not to like groups of people, but to specific individuals in the billionaire class, which in the end makes the ability of the government to govern less effective as a whole, because it has effects on down the line. There's cause and reaction all down the line. And now that the government is becoming less and less effective, the billionaires who created this system are now stepping in like, I've got an idea. Let's do what Yarvin says and create a nation that's more like a giant company where we have a CEO who runs everything. And the last 2 times we had business bros run the country, we crashed the economy. So that should give you an idea of their ability to govern. The government is not a business. It is something completely separate from a business. It is run different than business. You do not run a government to try and eke a profit. You run a government to be effective for society as a whole. And that society's health isn't dependent upon the bottom line of the government. Plus, the last two times we had business bros run the country, they ran it into such a large deficit while squawking about the deficit the entire time, right? Like, we care about a balanced budget. That's why I'm going to cut taxes and raise the deficit by $1 trillion. Cool. Now the government is definitely not having a balanced budget. And then they want to we got to just cut costs. Okay, so let's just paint a picture for you. You are a family of, 4. Husband, wife, 2 kids, whatever. Your property taxes are up. Okay, they're up, it's a fraction of your income. Your gas prices are up. Okay. Your wages have kind of stagnated for the past few years. Understandable. Raises come and go. Your kids' sports practice, the insurance costs are insane. The health insurance costs for families $1,200 a month. What? This is getting nuts, right? Your food prices are up 100% over the last few years. You are like, okay, I got to cut something somewhere. And so you do. You do the cuts. You cut, you don't take a vacation this year, you cut that out. You cut your gym membership, okay, there goes $70 a month. So now you're probably a little bit less healthy, a little bit less happy. You're trying to figure a place to cut, and you just run out of things. You're like, okay, we're going to no longer buy name brand ketchup, we're now buying off-brand. And then you go from the off-brand ketchup's too expensive, we're just not going to eat things that use condiments anymore. So now we're just on ramen noodles and mashed potatoes and shit. And your diets are suffering, and you're cutting and you're cutting and you're cutting and you're cutting, and this becomes a point where your survival cannot cut anymore. Now, the expenses you have that are going up over time are no different than the expenses the government has. The government is paying more for fuel. The government is paying more for insurance. The government is paying more for food. The government is paying more for properties, and all their costs are going up. So they cut. Okay, what do they cut? Well, they don't cut the military budget. That'll never happen. So they look for other little line items they can find in there. Okay, we're gonna figure out ways that we can pay schools less. We'll do a policy called No Child Left Behind. If they fail tests, then we're not gonna send them any more money. right? So the schools end up failing even more, producing even dumber students who come out of there. They look for like, oh, we're gonna force people on welfare to go back to work, and we're gonna force people with disabilities to go back to work. And they're cutting these little teeny things here, but the big expenses are never being touched. They're not cutting, the meat of their budget. They're not going like, wait a minute, do we really need a next generation fighter? Because Russia's planes suck, and there's no one else who can really compete with us right now. But we're going to build them anyway. Do we really need, another carrier group? Well, we did anyway. Do we really need to close this base and consolidate over here and do another $10 billion in construction to move everybody in that space? Like, where the cuts get made are the cuts to make society better, or say, are the things that make society better. And in the meantime, we're bailing out banks, we're bailing out corporations, we're subsidizing oil companies, we're giving them billions of dollars of subsidies and tax cuts and not taking a chunk of it back from them. And we've got all these tax loopholes that specific billionaires have been able to pass through so they can avoid paying their way and then offshore all that money somewhere else. So $40 trillion of U.S. capital is offshored out of the country to avoid paying taxes on that. That's, that alone is almost enough to pay off our entire debt. So if it was taxed at a proper rate. So it's Yarvin and his crew, they're those people that like, hey, we made everything worse, and now we got an idea to make it better by making it even worse. So, my opinion on that. Kevin Randon, happy birthday, Houston. Thoughts on the rule changes in China starting 7/2022? Is the dragon about to come summoned? Rule changes in China. Rule changes in China. I don't know if I have seen things in rule changes, but I don't know about specific ones for 7/2022. China rule changes 7/22. Okay, that's 2022. Border crossing announces rules to reduce spending on video games. Nope. Rare earth metals. Nope. You may need to send me a link because I don't know. I know that they're going to go after short sellers. Is that the one you're talking about? That they're going to like sort of limit shorting in the market to trying to like tweak the market and how things get short. You may have to send me a link and then I can read that so I know specifically. Euphoria Mornings here. Woo! Charles Bronson, Houston. I know BBYQ is returning because when the store in my city closed, another business did not move in. I've been living here 8 years and have never seen a storefront vacant. Thoughts? Which city are you in? Because there appears to be several storefronts that were never sold. So, and that some of those storefronts are sort of the headquarters for the subsidiaries in different states. Because there's 74 subsidiaries, and there's DK Butterfly, like 1 through, 37 or something among those. But get it got. What up? Max Payne, no gain. Yep. They definitely got that sucker to Max Payne and went, haha, suckers. And that's where we are. Right, monkey? Right? Baris Basuba, Houston, you're drunk. Nope. Fabrizio, my 719 calls got cooked. I sold my calls yesterday morning because I was like, you're shorting it down too much. I don't think we're coming out of this. And I sold it for a loss. I did not get out of it unharmed. That's for sure. Joshua Jackson got in and out Monday. That was, I probably should have, if I had sold Wednesday, I'd have been fine. But I sold and recalibrated, and that did not work out for me at all. So I made money, recalibrated, all right, let's do this thing, and then so Josh Jackson, seen that one coming. There you go. Only entity, just don't turn on any more mics. Okay. Lisa Sal, Houston. How severely could Crowdstrike be sued over this global outage? Probably pretty darn well. My guess is that there's all sorts of arbitration clauses and contracts signed with companies and governments, so that'll be finagled. My guess is the best thing Crowdstrike may end up doing is taking that business, spinning it off, and then renaming themselves so that the other entity has to deal with all the fallout. And that's what I do oftentimes do in corporate situations like that. Okay. Nanamoth, why do colleges make you take classes outside of your degree, i.e. psychology for a cybersecurity degree? Is it just money scam? Oh, I think psychology for a cybersecurity degree is brilliant. Oh, so there must have been a squirrel in there. Sorry, distracted by a dog chasing things. Yeah, so like colleges in general make you take general ed because oftentimes people don't know specifically what they want to major in. They're going to college, they know they want to do something, they got multiple interests, and you take these classes because you're going to figure out which one your interest is. I remember a friend of mine from high school. He's a punk rocker and a theater kid, and he wanted to do music, and he wanted to do theater. He was a good student, but did not care about math. He ended up going, I think, to Brown. And so he's at Brown, Ivy League school, and they make him take this like survey of math class. It's like a 100 level math class for non-math majors. And he took it, and he's like, man, this professor is really entertaining. It's sort of like the history of math and how people came up with things. And the teacher had like a sort of like second level of like the history of math course. He's like, all right, that sounded fun. I'll take this one. And he loved it so much. They ended up dropping out, getting a math degree, and now has a PhD in economics, all because of what he was exposed to. So if he had just gone into doing theater, he may have enjoyed himself, may have made a career of it, may not. But he actually found his true passion while taking these classes that sort of surveyed everything in the medium. I originally was going to go to school to become an automotive engineer, and ended up falling in love with physics and astronomy and started doing that because I had to take physics. And astronomy was, seemed like a fun class to take. And I was like, this is way cooler. And so that's what I ended up doing. So colleges, while they prepare you for a career in a vocation you're interested in, they're not vocational schools. Like the idea of people going to college is that if you expose them to a whole bunch of different ideas and a whole bunch of different ways of thinking, and a whole bunch of different information that's eclectic and all over the place, it allows that particular person to become more rounded and have a greater ability to problem solve, to think outside the box, to bring in viewpoints they wouldn't necessarily have if they weren't specifically in that one field at all times. If you're going to apply to like medical school, you can go pre-med, you can do biology, you can do anatomy and probably get in. But they absolutely love it if you are from an outside technical field and you go into medical school. If you have an engineering degree and you manage to also take like the pre-med classes, they will take you in a heartbeat. To them, it's like, oh my gosh, we have found somebody who is, like a polymath. We found ourselves a Da Vinci. They can do more than just like, look at the anatomy of a human. They can approach this from a completely different area. So it's I think it's important that we produce as many well-rounded members of society as we can, because it gives us more that we can offer each other, and for those who want to go to college, it also scratches an itch. I know a lot of people go to college just because I need to go to college, get this degree, get this job, and then I can work. And there's a place for that. There is. But there's also a place for people who need to scratch that itch in their brain. And, like when I'm teaching algebra to art students, right? Like, I was teaching algebra to them, and I would challenge them. I'm like, okay, if you think anything I'm teaching you will not be able to apply in your career, tell me. And I'll be going through something and like, what am I going to use this for? I'm a fashion marketing major. I'm like, okay, well, we're doing quadratic equations, and what I'm going to show you is a cost-benefit analysis. We're going to figure out the price point for your product to figure out, A, how many of those products you should buy for Nordstrom or whoever you're going to work for, and B, what price it should be at to maximize those things, sell the most of them the quickest, and make the most profit. So we go through the equation, and I show them. And I'm like, you might not necessarily do this in your career, but knowing that someone is important. Like, you go to the grocery store, you see the milk is $3.15 a gallon, right? It's not $3.15 a gallon because that's the actual cost it takes to get that milk. It's $3.15 a gallon because that's the highest price anyone's going to be willing to pay for that milk. So, like, they've got their cost or whatever, but they also make a graph, and they go, okay, if we charge $3.25, we'll sell 1,000 less units of milk. That'll actually reduce our profits by about $500 a store. So we're going to make the price 10 cents less than that, where we're going to get 2,000 people buying milk, and we generate an extra $1,000 a month. So that's there's someone out there that's doing that work, and I think it's important for you as a member of society. You may not necessarily remember the equation to do that, but knowing that someone's out there doing that equation is important for you to realize that there are calculations every single solitary day that goes into things that affect your life. And I don't think calculus is for everyone, but sort of having a surveying of what calculus is, I think, is important, so that people know what work is going into that, what the quants are doing on Wall Street, trying to figure out trend lines for things and to create these algorithms. You might not be able to have the skills or the knowledge to do that, but knowing that there's someone out there doing that, I think, is important, because it gives you a perspective on how the world operates. And if we don't have rounded individuals, then we're not going to have a successful government. We need rounded individuals in positions of power. We need folks that have multiple perspectives and read books and have taken classes in diverse areas, so that when they get to a position of power where they're presented with something that's outside of their expertise, they know how to find somebody who's an expert in that, or they know how to ferret out the information to make themselves, at least in that moment, an expert in that particular idea. And if we don't educate people broadly, then we sort of lose that skill that people I think should have growing up. And that's not to say everyone should do it. Some people are just dumb as shit, and you're not going to get them to do anything. And that's okay. They serve a purpose in life. They're happy doing whatever it is they're doing. They get to sit down and watch The Bachelor at night, and then go to work and come home and watch The Bachelor again. They serve a purpose. They're happily a cog in the machine, and they're glad to let somebody else do their thinking for them. But the forcing people into that is wrong, just like forcing them into school is wrong at a certain level. I do think we should need a baseline like high school, etc. But I think if you want to go to college, you should be able to go to college. And I think that the way we fund our universities in America is backwards and toxic, and that we need to make public schools tuition free. Fund it just like we do K through 12. If you get into college, you get to go to college, right? You don't have to worry about the budgeting. You don't have to worry about if your family's poor, how are you going to pay for it? What are you going to do with the loans that are afterwards? Because I don't think education in this country is best served by making it only available to rich people, or people who are going to burden themselves with gigantic loans that will follow them for the rest of their life, so that they can't start families, so that they can't buy a home, so they can't be entrepreneurs in business, and things like that. Like, you go to Germany, Norway, Sweden, Austria, Czech Republic, Slovenia, Hungary, Turkey, college is paid for in all those places. When you graduate, you don't have loans. You get to go into your career, you get to take internships, you get to do things you can afford. Whereas today, the folks who can go into those jobs and take those internships are the ones who have college paid for. Mommy and daddy paid for it, grandma and grandpa paid for it, etc. And they can go take an internship in industry and not make any money for 6 months or a year, whereas others can't because they have to start paying their loans off, right? And so they're going to take any freaking job they can. And it might not be the most ideal starter position in that field because they didn't have the opportunity at the internship at, Goldman Sachs or wherever. And here we sit. Let me find the Stephen Jay Gould quote. I know I've had it before, but it is, I think, one of the more important quotes out there. Okay. Stephen Jay Gould, he is a world-famous evolutionary biologist and a very, very, very well-learned person. I mean, the dude wrote books on baseball and futurism and all sorts of things. So he, he was a brilliant. Died, I think tragically young. His brain should have been around for a lot longer. But his big contributions was in evolutionary biology. His books are amazing. I do recommend his books, his essays. They're all fantastic. But one of his quotes is, "I am somehow less interested in the weights and convolutions of Einstein's brain than the near certainty that people of equal talent have lived and died in cotton fields and sweatshops." Basically saying, we are not a meritocracy because there are folks who exist today and in the past whose true talents that could benefit society as a whole have been largely shoved aside as they've been forced into, forced labor, slavery, sweatshops, things like that. And the things that do that are classism and racism, right? You don't get slavery, modern slavery, without some element of racism involved. You don't get people forced into sweatshops without some sort of class warfare being involved. The respect that international people have for American billionaires is different than the respect they have for like a Chinese billionaire. And why is that? Because it's perceived that the American billionaire is an entrepreneur who created something, and that something was a huge idea that then grew and they got rich from it. Whereas if you go to a place like China, the billionaires there are oftentimes billionaires because they're party members whose family and local party have subjugated the local population. They control all the land, they control all the resources, and they control all the workers, and they're billionaires because they're essentially enslaving people. And that's gonna put two different weights and measures in how you perceive them. And I have no doubt that there are people growing up in abject poverty in, Ivory Coast, working on a cocoa farm, who intellectually are superior to some rich asshole who's currently, being a pain in everyone's side at some private school in New Jersey. We need to have a much more meritocracy society than what we currently have. And we've made strides in sort of becoming more of a meritocracy. Even though, a lot of the power players still come from private school educations, from Ivy League schools, from rich families, etc. Every once in a while there's breakthroughs, which is great. We need to turn that over. But we need more of those breakthroughs. We need more of those opportunities for everybody at every level along the way. And I'm getting way off of from your original question, which is like, why do we offer these broad classes in school? Because we're broad people. You finish high school, you might be like, I'm going to be an astronaut. And you're not. You're not going to become an astronaut. Maybe you become a firefighter. Maybe you become an accountant. Maybe you're going to become like every real estate agent in the entire world, which is there's a single person who grows up thinking, I'm going to be a real estate agent when I grow up. Nope. They end up a real estate agent because, well, they tried everything else. And a lot of them are successful at it, right? So we need folks in all these positions, and I think we should just give everybody the opportunity to survey as much of it as they can, and so that they know what they want to do, and they can recognize the abilities and worth of others in what they do. As for studying psychology, studying psychology is actually very important to give you some ideas and some baselines as to how people approach things. Some people are so obviously and easily diagnosable that even with one semester of intro to psychology, you can go, oh, I get it, right? So that's important. That's why. It helps you in all sorts of different aspects of life. Okay. Did I miss like a bunch of other things while I was on that giant tangent? I did not. Okay, we're good. We are good. For morning Hasten, so glad to see you're still rocking it, man. Here's a question. Does your shot pouch hang lower than your fouling piece? British reference, let's see if you get it. Does your shot pouch hang lower than your fouling piece? Is your shot pouch, is that the tube of gunpowder and fouling piece, the old jammer? My roommates look at me like, I don't know. Shot pouch fouling. I'm gonna look that one up. Yeah. Shot pouch fouling piece. Okay, give me a picture. That doesn't help me at all. It just says someone asking for a picture in some sort of American long rifles forum, and then no one provides a picture. So, fouling piece case, attachable shoulder strap, double rivet reinforced handles. Ah, I was right in my guess. Look at that. Okay, shot pouch. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing because I do not have the. There we go. Chrome. Come on, Chrome. You can do it. Shot pouch fouling piece. Done. There we go. Ha! My guess was right. All right. Yeah, it's your ding dong. Your ding dong and your ball sack. We get that part. Does junk hang low? Does it bounce to and fro? When you jump up and down, does it bounce all around? Charles Bronson, Houston. Seattle is known to society as a rainy city. I live in Atlanta area, and I bet it rains here the same or more. It definitely rains more in Atlanta than Seattle. What Seattle will have is more days of rain. So when it rains here, it just drizzles. So it's doing like 1/10 of an inch a day, but it will do it for like 100 days in a row. And because during the winter it's not warm, it's 45, 50 degrees, it doesn't evaporate. So it just stays damp and wet. But it'll just be relentless. Just drizzle, 99, 100 days in a row during the winter. Whereas in Atlanta, you'll get more inches of rain a year because it will just drop several inches at once in a storm. And we don't do that here. When it happens, we're like, what is going on? It's like the tropics all of a sudden. And that's very rare for us. Most of the time we get fractions of an inch of rain, but it'll just be day after day after day after day. New York City gets more rain than Seattle does. We just get more days of rain. Okay, got no Sears news that I've heard of. I haven't heard any Sears news either. First day, Derek Horse. Well, my GME just became a hedge if Trump wins, I guess. There you go. First Day Productions. I have a student loan compromise. Halt the interest of the principals. Help students. Doesn't burden non-college workers. I think that's a step in the right direction. I do. I would like to see, because there are those people who are like, well, I pay off my student loans, why should I have to help everybody pay off theirs? And then if you tell them, like, what if we had a system that, all the money you paid to your student loans, the government just cut you a check and paid you back? All of a sudden they're like, oh, okay. Right? And a lot of people who didn't go to college and are workers, they want their kids to go to college. Right? Like, a lot of folks are so proud, oh, this is Jim. He's the first one in our family to go to college. And they're really proud of that. And they work really hard so those kids can have the opportunity. And I think if we made the opportunity easier by making college tuition free, at least public schools, who cares about private colleges, pay whatever, then we can give people access. I think if you want to go to college, you should be able to go to college. If you don't want to go to college, you shouldn't have to go to college, right? And there are jobs out there you do not need a college degree for, and you shouldn't have to have a college degree for. And there are jobs out there you most certainly should have a college degree for, and we should want as many people as possible to go get those degrees. We need hundreds of thousands of computer scientists in this country, and we're graduating 10,000 of them a year. We don't need 600,000 business majors, which out of the 1.6 million graduates with bachelor's degrees every year, we produce 600,000 business majors. We do not need 600,000 business majors. And a lot of business majors, like I was talking about having a well-rounded education, a lot of business majors don't. They just don't. It takes fewer credits to graduate with that degree. You're taking like 4 simplistic ideas and stretching them out over, 25 semester credits or whatever to get those degrees, and 35 semester credits. And a lot of them come in 2 categories. You have business majors who are going to have a job because daddy has a job for them. You've got business majors who want what the other ones have, and they think by going to business they're going to get it. But in reality, they're going to be saddled with loans, and they're not going to have that opportunity that those folks have. And so who ends up running things are the business majors who never had to have a job in high school, right? Got college paid for by dad. When they graduated, they took a year off, and they traveled the world and on dad's credit card and got lots of Instagram photos all over the place. And then they're like, okay, now I've got to go get my MBA. So they go and they get their MBA, and they spend a couple years in grad school, and they graduate with an MBA, and now they're going to be given their first job in their entire life. And that first job is going to be a corner office management position in daddy's company, or his friend's company, or grandpa's company, and they have no concept of what it is to do a day's work in their entire life. They've never swept the floor. They've never folded their own laundry. They've never cleaned a bathroom. They've never bagged groceries. They never served anyone food. They never cooked anything. Like, they don't know what it is that the grunts do, because they never had exposure to that when they were younger. And they have no idea what it takes to design or engineer anything, because they've never taken a course on engineering. They don't know. They've never taken anything beyond like a survey of science class or a survey of math class. So they don't necessarily know what it takes to design, create, build, manufacture, distribute. They don't know these things. And now they're in charge of teams of people who do know those things. But they can't relate. All they know is that I need to keep costs down, because that's what they've been taught their entire time in business school. So I think at that point you get a disservice in management structure, and they get things like Boeing. Boeing are a bunch of bean counter business majors and accountants who have no idea what it takes to actually produce anything or follow safety guidelines, because they don't care. All they care about is that bottom line, and then it bites them in the ass. Oh, we're gonna take up $1.4 billion in tax breaks. We're gonna build this thing in South Carolina with an unskilled workforce. And then you produce $25 billion in planes you can't build, you can't sell, right? Oh, we're going to cut costs here and get rid of all these people to make sure things are safe. And then your planes aren't safe, and then people stop wanting to use them, and you lose money, and you face criminal charges for it. I think to have people run companies, they should be experts in what it takes to produce things at that company. I think that's an important aspect. And if you have an engineering degree and you have an MBA, that's completely different than if you just have like a regular business degree and then you go get an MBA and now you're running a widget factory and you have no idea how a widget is made or designed, or the costs involved in research and development, or any of that stuff. So, Bung Magoo, I'm a manufacturing engineer in a private ag company, and our management is all the owners of the family. And that's, I get it. It's a family business, right? So they just sit in their offices, watch the shop employees on camera, and complain about them. Bingo. They can't do what you do, Bung Magoo, because they never bothered to learn, and they never had to. They had a nanny growing up. They had a maid. They stayed in fancy off-campus housing, or in the frat where they had like a house mom Like, they just never had to do shit. And I think that makes for a big divide in actual practical usefulness. But they sit at the top because that's where they were born. And it's not through merit. It's because of what hoo-ha they slithered out of, right? So, I don't know. There are lots of problems in the world. That's why the show is Houston, we have a problem. And there are solutions to them, but the people who want the solutions don't have the power, and the people who don't want solutions have all the power. So, yeah. Let's see if I can scroll back up here and find where I left off. Okay. Kelly Bull's talking about the guy on Reddit who promised to shove a banana up his butt if GME closed below 45. And Julio wants to know what time is that show. Robert Hurt, did you hear the rumor that there was a massive short on Truth Social the day before the assassination attempt? There was not. Just Dario did a deep dive with some other quants on that, and there was no difference in the amount of short sales that were happening on DJT last week versus any other week since the ticker switched over to that. It's a company to short. They lost $300 million last quarter. $300 million, and they made $770,000 in sales. That is, like, for a company that's been around for 3.5 years now, they've lost $1 billion, and they've made a couple $1 million in sales, where they have no prospects for growth revenue. Although they are going to, they did put a prospectus out there to sell like 37 million shares. So they're going to make $900 million, which will give them 3 quarters of operating expenses. And most of the operating expenses seem to be paying Donald Trump hundreds of millions of dollars, and definitely not paying for sales teams, programmers, moderators, things like that. Literally their website is an off-the-shelf platform you can buy for like $50,000, and then just have, I don't know, maybe $10,000 in server space a month that they need to use. So I don't know where the $300 million in expenses are going, if not just to Trump's pocket. Because before that, their expenses were about $50 million a month. Then they went public. Donald Trump got his windfall of shares, and now it's $300 million a month with no growth in user base and no attempt to grow the user base. It's pretty interesting as to where that money could be going. I think an audit should be very important of that entire company. Plus, the leader of that SPAC is now facing criminal charges for manipulation. So, interesting. Houston, we have a garden. The dandelions, the grass has stopped growing, but the dandelions are huge now, and now tomorrow I've got to mow the dandelions. And they look like skyscrapers all over the yard right now. So, dandelion murder is up tomorrow. Superb. I had such rapid weight loss in 1 month of carnivore that my face skin was so loose and drooped I looked elderly, scared the shit out of me. Otherwise, I had a lot of vitality and was also ripped. There you go. All right. Oh, apparently the guy's taking his banana up his butt right now on Reddit. Oh, sorry guys, I distracted you from that. Maybe that's why I only have like 200 viewers right now. Everyone's watching a dude shove a banana up his butt. Francis Ray Gamboa. Sold GME calls yesterday right before the drop. My calls expiring 8/16 are negative. Now though, when I was up 100% Wednesday, bought 40 strike calls for 8/23 today. Am I screwed? I mean, that's a month away. There's volatility can happen in a month. We've seen it happen in a week before. So I don't think you're screwed. If we get to like the week of the 23rd, nothing's happened, then you might be really screwed. So keep your eye on it. I'm sure there'll be volatility between now and then because there just is. We were, what, $23 a week ago? We hit almost 30 this week and back down to 25. So it's in there. You can write it. It's a factory. My users didn't have any issues with the Crowdstrike outage, so I was doing some expensive subcontracting today. Excellent. Good for you. Pure American. About time. I was suffering through 305 Miami Visuals non-stition black tape swimsuit stream. I don't even know what that means. Like boobies? Boobies with black tape? Thoughts and prayers. So if shorts keep pushing down like a beach ball in a pool trying to float to the surface, when will they run out of strength? Seems like they can push it down way longer than they should be able to. Oh yeah, because they're kings of manipulation, right? They will pump these little shit coins, make cash off of it, use that to help push down that beach ball some more, and here we are. Bitcoin lumber prices have crashed. They have. The lumber prices have crashed a lot because construction is going. Don't need to build things if people aren't buying houses and they're not leasing office space. And we've got a glut of warehouses out there. We've got a glut of office. We've got a glut of commercial space. We need to change, I think, the tax structure and how we tax empty space, whether it's homes, offices, whatever. And we need to incentivize getting renters into those things. Because these guys can do huge tax write-offs, leaving places empty, and make more money off those tax write-offs than they can off of just renting it cheap to someone. And then that creates big, giant, empty, glaring, stupid spots all over cities and towns across America, whether it's homes, office, or otherwise. And what you want is you want people in places. You want people in places doing things, because an economy depends upon the movement of goods, people, information, money. You need that stuff moving all over the place. And if it's not moving, then what are you doing? Lumber prices have crashed. Maybe I can replace some of the Douglas fir. My dad built me this beautiful coffee table, but he built it when the lumber prices were insane, and so an 8-foot cedar 2x4 was $88. And he was like, nope. So he made it all out of fir, and the thing weighs 1,000,000 pounds. So maybe I'll get myself some cedar 2x4s and replace those fir ones so I can actually move that table by myself. Aaron Sounding, Houston, August 8th is the next T35 cycle. Historically, the past 3 years, July has been a month. We do not have a cycle. I was not expecting a pump for July. Load the boat for August 7th, the day before the pump on August 8th. Sure. I mean, so far, every date for the last 6 weeks has been. So, hey, whatever. You know. Be rad. You're allergic to the outdoors. Stop pretending to be brave and go back inside. It's too hot inside, man. It's way too hot. I'll be out here with the trees. And the monkey butt's way happier out there. She's like stoked. She gets to run around and chase things the entire time rather than just like sleep. She'll sit, then she chases a squirrel, then she comes back, then she chases a bird, then she comes back, then she gets the zoomies for a little bit. Oh, I'm doing the show. It's fantastic. ForZZ9, how bad did options hurt this go around? I got bet down. Apparently this past Friday, today, was the biggest day of options premiums in the history of the stock market. I'm not talking GME, I'm talking stocks of all kinds across the entire market. More premium went into it and more money was lost than any other time in the history of the market. So the options writers made a killing this time around, that's for sure. I think what happened was yesterday they pushed the price down so far that shares have been purchased by options writers to cover, to hedge the fact that so much was in the money, that they got to sell all those off and it dumped it even further, and that's where we were. Liberty Bibbity, Houston, who do you think will take Biden's place? I think it will be Kamala Harris. I think what if Biden drops out, and who knows if he'll agree to it or not at this point, but if he drops out, he'll probably resign the presidency. And that way Kamala Harris will become president, and she'll run as the incumbent at that point forward. And then they'll pick some white dude from a battleground state, Andy Bashir or whatever, as my roommate was suggesting, they'll pick some white dude from a battleground state to be the running mate, and then we'll go from there. I'm sure we'll find out the week of the convention or just before if something like that's going to happen. But there's lots of polls coming out showing that a generic younger Democrat would absolutely destroy Donald Trump in an election.
I could run.
Yeah. My roommate's like, I could run. I think Monkey Butt could run at this point. And it would be enough energy injection into the electorate that people would be like, woo, I'm excited to vote now. So that's, I think that is a very big possibility. Now, the folks behind Project 2025, they already have like a whole bunch of legal stuff set up to make sure that, make it illegal for Biden to drop out. But if Biden resigns the presidency, then you got to change it. And the entire point of the convention is actually to officially nominate a candidate for presidency. So the ballots are not finalized until after the conventions anyway. Because that's when you get notice, like, this is the nominee for the convention. So a contested convention is very possible, I think, at this point. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see it. I would have thought, if Trump had been sentenced back on July 11th, when the original sentencing hearing for the New York case was, I wouldn't have doubted if the Republican convention was a contested convention. Because it appeared General Flynn really wanted to become president, and that he was going to do a contested convention if Trump was in jail at that time. So now we may have a contested one for the Democrats. And I think Biden getting COVID, whether he actually has it or not, I think he may have long COVID from when he got it in 2022. I think he's given the out for the party to sort of go, you had your time, and now we're gonna rock and roll with some fresh young blood, right, Monkey? Hey, buddy. Yeah, pet your head because you're just a little dog. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be Kamala, and then it won't be like Kamala and Newsom, because Newsom's also from California. You can't have a president and vice president from the same state. Plus, you want a battleground state, because we have a stupid electoral college system that requires us to pay attention to 10 states across the entire country and ignore everybody else. So somebody from Ohio, somebody from Pennsylvania, somebody from Michigan, somebody from North Carolina, bigger battleground states will probably have the VP spot at that point. President Productions, Curtis Yard was talking about Trump's 2025. If he wins, he said you have to implement 2025 to show everyone how ineffective it will be. So if Trump wins, it won't necessarily be the end of the world. Do you have Curtis Yard confused with the guy that was running? I may have had wrong person. No? That's right.
That's wrong.
Oh, that's wrong.
What is it?
Oh, okay. Being corrected by my producer over here. Aaron Soundteam, Rod, I'm not hyping up a date historically. We do not have runs on. Oh, I think I just realized I'm stuck on top chat. I think I'm missing people here. Oh my gosh. Dadgummit. With 12 minutes to go, I just realized I'm on top chat the entire time. So there's conversations happening that I'm missing entirely. Okay. If you're in Morning Houston, do you think has to be some grand governmental intervention to stop meme stock squeezing? Massive squeeze would melt the system, surely. RC screwing us recently? Why? I mean, there's several reasons why RC could do the dilutions. And, he's got billions of dollars more in the bank accounts of GME than he had before, which is a good thing for GME. Although I personally would have rather be retired now. Let the stock rip and be retired. That would benefit me and probably many of you more than, the gradual, steady plug of the stock over time. Just let things rip, and then we can buy so much of that stock afterwards that will be cool. And then you can do dilutions or whatever. Now, some have theorized that he doesn't want the stock to rip until it's the time he wants it to rip, because he may have things in place, right? He's got mergers, acquisitions, all sorts of stuff that could be going on, and they don't want it to rip just yet because it's hard to calculate a merger deal if you're doing stock swaps if the price of one of those stocks goes bonkers. So that could be happening. It could also be that he doesn't actually love us and doesn't want us to have a win, right? His earnings call was really short, curt, and avoided questions, and that pisses people off. They want answers for things. They deserve answers for things. But as for the government intervention, I think if the government did their jobs and regulated the market the way they should regulate it, the squeeze would have happened by now. And then we probably wouldn't have a squeeze like it ever again, because they would fix the problem, which is selling shares that don't exist. And yeah, that's right, Monkey, you wander. Vernalk, pretty sure Crowdstrike is about to lose their insurance. Just Mammy, who thought Hulk Hogan was still alive. What amazes me is that Hulk Hogan looks the same as he did in the 80s. I thought Hulk Hogan was old as shit in 1985, and he looks exactly the same. So, good on you. He is the bane of the existence of the Gawker crowd, though, because he's the one that got Gawker all shut down, and Peter Thiel was behind that too, because they wrote about Peter Thiel. I think they outed Peter Thiel. Is that what it was? Yeah. They outed Peter Thiel, and he was very upset about that. And then they posted an article about Hulk Hogan cheating on his wife, and Hulk Hogan sued, somehow won, and
that was weird.
And Peter Thiel funded the lawsuit, and then took control of Gawker, and so everything kind of goes back to Peter Thiel being a giant Bond villain asshole in the end. It's kind of amazing. So there we are.
It all goes back to the Fight Club.
Oh, the Fight Club.
Goes back to Fight Club, Dark Enlightenment. There's a whole. I'll talk to you.
All right, we'll talk about that. All right. I'll get filled in. My roommate used to be on the Gawker boards way back in the day. Oh, that was his place to hang out. Fatal Wraith. Houston, I'm very close to start lending my shares for money after 3 years. I don't have anything to show for other than loss. I think you can make more doing covered calls than you can lending, personally. You can do $100 a week per 100 shares, and you can basically double your money on those same 100 shares every year on that. So that's pretty good. You're looking at 4% a week, probably, on weeks that aren't volatile, selling covered calls. That's not too shabby. So that might be something to look at if that's what you're interested in. Or you could lend and get 4% a year. Blah blah blah. Houston, are you still mining Pi? Is it any closer to being redeemable for cash? I'm still mining Pi. I cannot tell if it's redeemable for cash yet. Or anywhere. Somehow people get Pi out of their Pi accounts and into Binance and stuff, but I don't know how they do it. I read all these things like, what you gotta do is you gotta go here and post this thing and do that thing, and then I go to some website and it's like a scam, so I don't bother. So I don't know how they're doing it. Probably somebody who is a wizard in programming for crypto exchanges knows what's going on. Some people are saying it's just futures, like you're just selling the coins you have as futures. But I can't figure out. I will gladly sell all 7,000 coins I have as some sort of future. Could be a couple $100,000. I'll take it. I don't know. Just Miami. Scott Baio couldn't get the night off from Subway to attend the RNC. Blah blah blah. Just Miami. Nvidia CEO sold another $28 million worth of shares. That's $360 million in shares in the last 5 weeks. Can Monkey Butt do any tricks? Of course. Come here. Come here, Monkey Butt. Let's put you on your thing. Come here. Come up here. Come on. Hey, she comes when she calls.
Tell her sit. Tell her down, down. Oh, no, down, down. There we go. You can high five? High five? Boom. Yes, you want to shake? Yes. Can you twirly-do? Twirly-do, come on, twirly-do. Twirly-do, nope, got twirly-do. No, we're not doing that. Twirly-do, twirly-do. Come on. There you go. One more. Almost. You did halfway. Twirly-do. Twirly-do. Twirly-do, monkey. No? You want to go down? Go down? You want to roll over? Roll over? No? You're like, I'm a chair. I'm not rolling over for you. Yeah, we got a few of them out of the way. I could tell her to stay. Like, if I had a treat, I could put that treat right here, and it would stay there until I told her she could eat it. I could mow the yard, and she would just stare at that treat just vibrating, and she wouldn't touch it until I told her it was okay. She's pretty good about that. And now she's going under her chair. All right. Colin, heading out to bed on the ponies here shortly. Once a DGen, always a DGen. Wish me luck. Number 62. That's your number for today. That's the horse that's going to win. I have no idea what. I've only been to one horse race in my entire life. I won on one race, and I didn't know what I was doing because everything was in French. But I turned 20 euros into 500 euros, and boy, did we celebrate. Rest in peace, our gay lovers. Yes. Yeah. Peter, read up on some of the dead guys showing up at Peter Thiel's various houses. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. Blah blah blah. The Hague declared Israeli occupation of Gaza illegal earlier this afternoon. That makes sense to me. Go Mariners, says J-Dog. I got 3 minutes left. Okay. Not a moth, I kind of get that, but explain my art class. Oh, art is magnificent. Like, taking a history of art class or like a art appreciation course was mind-blowing. Because, like, I can look at stuff and I go, yes, that's better than what I can produce. And there's some things I look at and I'm like, I really like that a lot. But then there's stuff I look at and I go, that's not for me at all. But taking an art appreciation course made me realize what went into making that and why they made it. And even though it's not my aesthetic, I can go, I get it now. Plus, you know, when you become a cajillionaire after MOAS, you're going to need to be able to invest in art and know what you're doing, right? So, there you go. Euphoria Morning, Houston, favorite video game genre and your favorite game in said genre. I like shooting things in video games. First-person shooters are definitely my favorite video games to play. Although I've had fun with like puzzle games and stuff. I'm not that big on those big, massive role-playing games. WoW, Warhammer, stuff like that. I just don't care. I don't care about my character. I don't care about interacting with other people. I just want to blow shit up. That's all I care about. And so I've enjoyed like Grand Theft Autos. I enjoy most generic first-person shooters. I especially enjoy first-person shooters where I get to like blow the heads off of Nazis. So Wolfensteins, things like that. Those ones are very important to me and cathartic. Like having a bad week, you pop in a gold Wolfenstein and just like vaporize some Nazis. It is as relaxing as it gets. So yeah, those are my favorite genres. There are video games. I have a roommate who he does nothing but play video games like 20 million hours a day, and half the games he plays, I just think that's not interesting at all. But he loves it. He gets enjoyment out of it. So, you know, there's different strokes for different folks, I guess. Geminius, it never would have occurred to me to do so, but I wish I had puts on Crowdstrike before today. I bet we all do. I bet if people work at Crowdstrike wish they had puts on Crowdstrike today. Yeah. Kelly Boy says at work. Thanks for tick. It's 4:30. I gotta go on. I'm gonna scroll down. I can do one more in here, and
Gary Del Vecchio, how come no one asks Republicans who it is who hires all these refugees who are taking their kids' jobs? Just look at Florida. Just in the last year, so Ron DeSantis introduced all these rules about work permits and things like that, and punishing people who hire undocumented immigrants, and all of these farmers are all of a sudden freaking out. They're like, I voted for Ron DeSantis for these rules, but I didn't expect it would affect me. It's the leopard eating the face mentality. So, you know, the entire agriculture sector in Florida has been destroyed by the xenophobic policies of Ron DeSantis, because no one else is coming in to be like, yeah, I'll pick watermelon in 98-degree heat when it's 97% humidity outside. Those people aren't showing up. Only desperate migrants, refugees, immigrants are willing to do that job. You grew up in America, you're not. No one's showing up to do that. So we exploit these immigrant communities specifically for those roles because we cannot pay them enough to make it so that you or I will do it. My best friend he was a beer brewer for years, running different breweries, and then became a production manager at a big soda company. And they had a variety pack, and the variety pack made $20 million a year. You know, like, I don't know, 6 or 12 different flavors in the thing. And they had this assembly line just for the variety packs, where somebody would take a flat full of one flavor, put it on the machine, and they would do that like 6 times or whatever, and then the machine would mix it all up, throw it into a package. And they could not find someone willing to pick up those flats of drinks all day long and put them on the conveyor belt. And they're, you know, trying to pay $10 an hour to do this in the Northwest, which is just insane. You cannot afford to do anything for that. And my friend was like, why don't you just pay someone more? They're like, oh, it's outrageous. Like, well, you're not making the variety packs right now because no one's willing to do it for $10 an hour. And he's like, you know, it's at some meeting of all the executives, like, how much would I have to pay you to do it? I'm like, oh, you can afford to pay me that much. He's like, exactly. So who's going to do that? If you could pay me, you know, $100,000 a year, and I'll go lift those all day long and put them on the line. They're like, ha 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 ha. He's like, really? Do you want to pay someone $100,000 and they just lift those flats all day long on that machine, or lose out on $20 million in sales? What's it going to be? If it comes down to it, and you have to pay it, you will pay it, because otherwise it's losing $20 million a year. And you know, our system has to recognize that. Either you exploit someone for it, or you pay somebody an adequate amount of money to do that work. Otherwise, the work's not going to get done. So on that note, I'll see you guys on Monday. All right? Exit scene, things explode, farting rhinoceros. Okay. Peace.